By 2020, 50% of all searches will be by voice. That's huge. That means SEO really has to be a focus. This year, last year, 15 million Amazon Echoes were sold. And in 2017, 25 million voice-first devices were sold, bringing the total number in the United States to 33 million. That number rises every single day. If you go to Amazon's homepage, that's what they're pushing. They're pushing Echo. They're pushing that stuff. Google's pushing it. Apple's pushing it. So you really see that it's starting to take over. Here's some bad news, though. Once a user enables a voice app, there's only a 3% chance that they'll be an active user by the second week. So what that tells us is that people want to get into this technology, but it still hasn't reached the threshold where it's really intuitive and user-friendly for them to use, and they don't necessarily understand all the applications of it. When I first started preparing this presentation, I was, playing around with it, and I consider myself, a digital native. I know how to use technology, and even I was stumbling around a little bit. The UI isn't great yet, so I still think that there's room for improvement. Nearly 62% of marketers have no plans for voice search. So if you're in that 62%, you've got the majority behind you. And then there are 3% are already implementing, which are the 3%. These are the 3 people that you see here. So obviously people are ahead of what's happening, and they're starting to get ready for this. If you can start thinking about this now, you will get out in front of the pack, no question. You don't have to worry that you're late to the party. You're not even a little bit late to the party. You are really representative of future healthcare marketers who are thinking about this issue. The competition for voice-controlled personal assistants is heating up. So I would definitely say Echo which is Amazon's device, is definitely ahead. Then you have Google Home. You also have Apple. And then Microsoft has Cortana. So if you have Microsoft Office on your machine, chances are that you can speak right into the computer, and it will pull up searches for you. Now, it uses Internet Explorer. What's their new product called? Edge? I think they changed it to Edge, right? So, wow, I'm dating myself. So that will give you results from Edge, but it is already enabled in all Microsoft devices. So let's just get our vocabulary consistent today. I just want to throw out a few terms so that you feel really comfortable as we speak. So when we talk about an app on a phone, everyone's very familiar with that. It's an application. You download it. In voice technology, an app is called a skill. So when Emily said we built a skill for Alexa, it's like building an app for Alexa. It's a way to interact. It's program. It's development. It's that kind of thing. Each product has a skill store. So if you go to Google Home, you will find that their skill store has a list of all the different things you can do. The most popular skill on Amazon Echo devices is playing Jeopardy. You can play Jeopardy with Alexa whenever you'd like. So in my house, we use Alexa for setting a timer, Alexa, add this to the grocery list. Alexa, buy this from Amazon Prime. Alexa, play this music. But you can play Jeopardy. So we did one night and we all failed miserably, so we gave up. But that is the most popular skill. So it's right now, a lot of it's being used for entertainment, but slowly but surely it's going to be starting to use for the same things that we see people using it for now, which are useful facts that they need in order to make decisions. Finding out wait times at hospitals, skill. Guided meditation, couple of different skills there. And then checking different sports scores, which so far my husband has yet to do, so let's not tell him that. You can use it for that. Okay, so these are some terms that are going to matter to us throughout the day. So a featured snippet, which I'm going to show you later, is the what we call the Google zero position. When you open up a web browser and you type in something or you speak into it and it pulls up that box for you, that's being pulled from a third-party source. That is the position you want to be in if your answers are going to be used for voice. Machine learning, AI, artificial intelligence, all these things that are being thrown around, it just means that we're programming machines to learn from decisions that people are doing. We already have that. If you're signed into Google, it already gives you back your choices based on what it knows about you contextually. That's machine learning. So it's programming in order to determine or predetermine what somebody might want or need. And I'm going to show you an example of that later. Entity authority is how high your search engine is considered, not how high, but how authoritative your search engine is considered according to the search engines. Obviously, the .govs have the most domain authority or entity authority, and it goes down from there. And the way that that's interpreted or seen is backlinks and all the different things that SEO is about. And then the other thing, and this is what, if your content writers are doing keyword research properly, this is what they should be using to determine the questions and answers that they're putting on their content. People also ask. That's a huge insight that Google is just serving up to you about what other kinds of queries people are asking based on the original topic that they started with. So we're going to have a linguistic lesson here. All language is contextual, right? So I'm going to say words and I want you to imagine them. A mouse. A mouse on your desk. A mouse on your desk eating cheese. Okay, so what went through your mind when I said a mouse? How many people thought of an actual mouse? And how many people thought of the mouse that you use to do this kind of stuff with? Okay, when I said a mouse on your desk, what did the picture in your mind change to? This guy, right? Okay, and then when I said a mouse on your desk eating cheese, no one here said eek. I'm very impressed with that. Nobody got nervous, right? Now watch what happens. I typed this into Google, and look what it showed me. I typed in a mouse, and it didn't really know which one I wanted. So it showed me all of these different things, okay? We'll get rid of the mouse now. So all language is contextual, meaning that depending on what's happening around us or to us or what we're trying to decide, that machine learning is trying to interpret that and determine what answers to serve up to us. This is incredibly important when you're programming a voice assistant, because you could say something to the voice assistant and contextually that's not what you mean at all. So that's the question that has to be asked by people who are planning and programming these skills. So explicit would be something like Canon cameras, right? So if you said something to the device about buy me a Canon camera, think of all of the things that the device would have to serve back to you in order to determine something that right now we do on a user interface with a few clicks of a button. So this is where it becomes really important for these machines to interpret what people are going to do. It's not just like this evil thing that we're all nervous about. If we're going to move ahead in technology, we need these devices to interpret what we're going to do. So here's an explicit question that you can ask. Will I need an umbrella tomorrow? There's actually an actual website, I forget what it's called, but you go to it and you just ask, like you just say, like what you type in your zip code and it's like, yes, you'll need an umbrella, no, you won't need an umbrella. It's very, very simple. Will it be sunny tomorrow? Tell me the local weather forecast for tomorrow. So when you say that to the skill, what does the skill need to know in order to tell you the weather tomorrow? Where you are, right? If it doesn't know, it can't serve that up. And that's why these devices need to have a lot of information stored inside of them so that they can give the person using them the information that they need. So let's just look at these featured snippets. So this is what happens. I typed in what is a primary care physician, and this just pulled this. Where did featured snippets get pulled from the most? Typically places like Wikipedia. In healthcare, we also see Mayo and Cleveland Clinic, and all of your hospitals also get pulled from feature snippets, but it's really content that is considered that has high entity authority, that really a lot of people use to access that type of information. So when you're thinking about your own skill and what you might bring back from a content strategy perspective, where do we always start? Who are we talking to? So there's seats over here. So that's really important, that when you're thinking about this, you need to be thinking about regional accents. So there are a few people on AHA Media Group who are from Boston. They say room for room. That has to be programmed into a device in order to understand that. Because if you heard rum, you would think that the person was talking about a drink. But to people from that area of the country, they're talking about a room. Phrasing, how do people actually say things? How do they ask questions? So in the South, we say y'all instead of you all. That has to be something that's programmed in. Prosody, which is the way it sounds, the cadence of the language as people speak. And then actual pronunciation. What does it sound like when somebody says something? So when you're building personas for skills, all the things that you already thought about personas, like the psychographic, the demographic, the backstory, the motivations, the call to actions, that all has to be there. But then there has to be this entire layer on top, looking at your entire population who could look at using this skill. Same with the user journey. So if you're designing a UX experience, this is not the user journey you want to use. It's way too truncated, it's way too small. This is the user journey that we use for content writers, meaning that we start with what the action is, then we look at the motivation, and we build in the content in between. It's hard to see on the screen, but what you notice is that we look at questions and answers, because semantic search, the way that people use language and the way that they use these devices is based on questions and answers. That's how your content should be being written right now. What is? How do I? Why does this mean something to me? Because this is how people think and they interact with their devices. Most of the time, you would think somebody would just type in hospital near me, but they don't, or say that, but they, look, this is my device, but they don't. They say, where is a hospital near me? They actually ask a question. And so if we're going to give them back answers from our brand, we need to be thinking about that. So the content considerations that you want to think about are actually writing the way that people speak. This is where plain language, short sentences, short paragraphs comes in. Information satisfaction. Did they get the answer to what they needed? And the length, right? So it has to be short and quick. And we're going to talk about that later. Context, again, mouse on your desk eating cheese. Just come back to that example every single time. And then the elocution, the prosody, the pronunciation, that kind of thing needs to be factored in. So how do you think about the first part of preparing your content for voice? Because you may not be ready for building skills yet, but you want to make sure that your content is future ready for voice when you are ready to do that. So what I talked about before, the questions and answers are really important. Structured content, I think we are all familiar with this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but your content needs to be free from its display and delivery. The days of templates and pages has to move aside, and we have to think about freeing content from the holders that it's in and creating and writing it so that it can exist in a lot of different media channels and formats. And then not forgetting about local search, because contextually the devices are going to serve up something locally first, chances are, depending on what's happening and what the skills are. So you really want to make sure that all of your local search issues are really solved for and thought about. Now, I just want to talk about this because I actually feel like a little bit of triumph here. So about 10 years ago, well, I would say like 7 years ago, all the content strategists in the world got together and decided that FAQ pages had to die. They were like, these need to go the way of the dinosaur. If you have FAQ pages, you're a bad person and you're going straight to hell. And I was like, and it was really like a passionate subject. Like people were debating it back and forth. And so I was like, I remember one person said back to me on Twitter, she was like, if your content is written properly and you've thought about your audience, then you have all of the answers that people need embedded within the content. Who's going to spend all that time reading your content, right? They're looking for answers to things. So if you know that these are the top 15 questions people are asking, give them what they want, right? So I actually always advise clients, I'm very happy about this, I kind of want to do a dance, to always have FAQ pages because I didn't see it. First of all, it's a 0-1 thing, right? It's a digital page. It doesn't cost you to create another one. It does cost you to upkeep it and to make sure that it's current. But these are the things that people are looking for. Now, with the voice, these pages are going to come in quite handy. So if you have them, keep them around, make sure they're current. If you don't have them, we can talk about the best way to get them up. But these are still very, very important. Frequently asked questions are your friend. And then this is a final checklist for voice. So I'm just going to talk about this side of it because we're going to get to the technical considerations soon. But again, content SEO considerations, I think I've said it like 17 times, so I'm going to stop. Questions and answers. You want to think about that featured snippet if you can get into that position. Julie, you want to raise your hand here? Julie is later going to speak about Aurora Healthcare and how we work to get their content into the featured snippet spot. You want to write conversationally. So again, how do people talk to each other? Consider the way people speak regionally. You want to keep it short. And again, you want to think about context. Today, AHA Media Group published a voice writing checklist. It's on our website, ahamediagroup.com. Please feel free to download it. If you just want me to email it to you, bring your card at the end of the workshop, and I'll be more than happy to send it to you directly. Now, we are going to watch one more video, and then I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Nathan at the Cleveland Clinic.